lesson we'll be discussing vertex form. Students will be able to change an equation from standard form to vertex and graph the equation from vertex form. So we know with our linear equations, we have standard, which is ax plus by plus c. We have slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. And we have point-slope form, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. For the quadratic, our standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c. Our vertex form is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k, and then we have our quadratic formula. So standard and vertex form, the a tells us the direction and the size of the parabola. The h is our axis of symmetry, and then we use the hk as our vertex. Remember, the axis of symmetry is h, but it does not include the minus sign. For example, if it says y equals 2 times x minus 5 squared minus 7, the h is 5 because it does not include the minus sign. If it says y equals 2 times x plus 5 squared minus 7, the h is actually a negative 5 because that positive is x plus a negative 5. The domain and range can be written as an inequality or an interval notation. The domain is all real numbers unless it's a word problem with constraints. So written as an inequality or notation, interval notation. For range, if the curve opens upward, its y is greater than k. If it opens downward, y is less than k. So to graph from vertex form, we have to identify the vertex and then make a table, putting your vertex in the middle, using two values to the right and two values to the left of x. Plug in x in our equation and solve for y. Our size of the parabola, we'll have to identify the vertex, so we need that point, and then we need another point on the graph. We substitute values for h, k, x, and y, and solve for a. So for example, our axis of symmetry in this example would be x equals negative 3. The vertex would be negative 3, negative 7. The direction of the opening is downward because it says negative 4. Our domain is going to be all real numbers. And our range is going to be in inequality form, y is less than or equal to negative 7. Interval notation, it would be parentheses, negative infinity, negative 7 with brackets. So we're going to rewrite this from vertex to standard form, and then calculate f of 1 and f of negative 1. So in order to change this to standard form, I'm going to take the x minus 1 and actually square it. So I get 3 times x squared minus 2x plus 1 minus 3. And my order of operations says multiply. So 3x squared minus 6x plus 1 minus 3. And then subtract. So combine these. So y is equal to 3x squared minus 6x. So substitute f of 1. We'll put 3 times 1 squared minus 6 times 1. So our f of 1 equals negative 3. F of negative 1, 3 times negative 1 squared minus 6 times negative 1. So our f of negative 1 equals 9. So in this one, we're just going to sketch the graph. So we have to find the vertex. We'll start with the vertex. So my vertex is negative 4, negative 6. So plot negative 4, negative 6. And then this tells us that is a downward parabola with arrows at the ends. In this one, we're going to find the size of the parabola by solving for a. So I'm going to plug into my equation what I know. So this is h, this is k, this is x, this is y. So 10 equals, I need a, so I'm going to keep a. So negative 1 minus 4 squared plus 0. 10 equals a times negative 5 squared plus 0. So 10 equals A times 25. Divide both sides by 25, and I get A is equal to 2/5. So what does the H represent? The H represents the axis of symmetry. What letters are the vertex? H, K.